Hi, my name is Lauren Kay, and welcome to The Games That Made Me. We started this podcast to look at the lives and stories of those who are working in the gaming and esports industry by looking at the games that shaped our guests' futures. Today, we're joined by Ben Starr. Ben is an actor who most recently voiced Clive Rosfield in Final Fantasy 16. You can follow Ben on Twitter at @Ben_Starr. I so enjoyed speaking with Ben today. He's an absolute legend. It's very rare that you get to find somebody who is both a voice actor as well as somebody who's a huge fan of the game. So I really hope you enjoy our in-depth discussion about his life with games. Hi, Ben.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I know you through a little teeny tiny game, a little teeny tiny franchise.
Yeah, so it's a small little bijou franchise.
Bespoke indie title.
Yeah, it's a small, tiny team. No one's heard of it.
No, but yes, of course, it's Final Fantasy.
Yes.
And that's definitely what we're going to talk about now is how, because not only are you starring as Clive in Final Fantasy 16.
Yes.
But also Final Fantasy is something that is in your blood. It's something that you grew up with. And you said that Final Fantasy VIII is one in particular that you had a very strong connection with.
Yeah, I mean, any opportunity to talk about Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy VIII in particular, I will take it. So when you were like, would you like to come on this show? I was like, yes. Let me tell you about a little game called Final Fantasy. It's a very, I feel like I'm in a very strange place where I'm a part of something that has had such a huge impact on my own life, and to kind of see how the sausage is made in a strange way, it's only made me love this franchise more, and the impact that it had on my life before I even got cast in Final Fantasy 16 it's just been massive and changed my life, and I'm on this kind of roller coaster right now, and I don't know when it's going to stop, and I kind of don't want it to. But yeah, it's an amazing game and an amazing franchise, really. Even though we will talk about Final Fantasy VIII, I think I do want to preface it with Final Fantasy fans. Like, I could go to bat for any of these games.
Yeah.
But because I think they're all absolutely amazing, but this one just had a huge impact on my life.
So how did you first hear about it? Because I feel like, especially like in the 90s, like when you heard about a Final Fantasy game was always like different for everybody.
Yeah. I would say, so in the UK anyway, the packaging of the games was really kind of obscure. Like we had like the iconic white with simply the title and then the image. And so it was just these white boxes, and I had no idea what they were. I was like, what is this game? And it's like, what is this pretty writing with numbers after it? It didn't mean anything to me. And by that point, I think I'd played like, maybe I played like Siphon Filter. I had Gran Turismo, and I had Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2 was far too scary for me, so I just turned it off after like 30 seconds. I went, nope. And so I just had this box that I wasn't really doing much with. But my dad, I think I'd seen it in like Official PlayStation magazine, and I went, that looks quite nice. And my dad, I think, kind of on a whim, just bought it for me. But obviously they came in the cases, the really thick cases. They didn't look like other games.
No.
And I remember playing it for the first time and thinking, this is rubbish. This is absolutely terrible, because I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the game, Squall, or Starry, as I called him after my surname. I don't know why I have this bizarre naming of my characters when you could. So Starry, cool guy, had to go on this training mission to get the Guardian Force Ifrit, or Ifrit, as I called him as a kid. And yeah, I was rubbish at it. I didn't know how to play it. I didn't understand any of the systems. And there was this timer, and I think I played it about 5 or 6 times and just going, I just like do this bit and, whatever.
Yeah.
And then one night my parents were having a dinner party, and I thought, I'll just crack open Final Fantasy VIII again. I don't really have anything else to play. And I finally got past it. And then everything kind of clicked.
Made sense.
Yeah, it made sense. And the world opened up, and that really changed everything, because I was at that point in my life where games, I was only playing at the beginning of games. I wasn't really great at completing stuff, and Final Fantasy VIII was like the first game that not only completed, but I really completed.
Yeah.
I think my clock by the end of it, and this is for an 11-year-old, was something like 109 hours.
Jeez.
Just like relatively in my life, 109 hours was a huge amount of time.
Yeah.
And I remember crying when it was over.
Aww.
Because at the end of the game, they're all back in the garden and everyone's got the video camera and Zelle's running around. Like I was bereft because I'd created such a huge attachment to these characters, and it just changed my life because I read, but I didn't read loads of books. I liked films, but films were like an hour and a half. And if you think about the amount of time you play these games for, it was amazing. And I felt like this connection with my dad because he loved fantasy books.
Yeah.
And I was like, Dad, it's like a book and a film.
Yeah.
You can play it.
Yeah.
And, going from, there's a time before Final Fantasy and a time after. And that was my first entry into it. And then obviously I opened the floodgates and it was it's just like,
Final
there's
Fantasy
more.
Everywhere.
There's actually like better ones available to play.
Yeah.
So I got to play obviously 7 and then 9 and 6 and it just kind of went from there and I was completely hooked.
But I think there is something special about coming into the series with 8 as well. I feel like we have a lot more, because obviously I went through 8 as well. And it's almost like this interesting open-mindedness, I think, from playing it originally just like that, because it was so different from the other games, even in the series. And like when everybody sort of complains about the junction system and you're just kind of like, yeah, but it clicked.
Yeah.
I made it work.
I think I made it work. The reason it really clicked with me, and this was kind of like my brain at the time, my way in was that I really liked the GFs. I loved the Guardian Forces, and I named them all after Pokemon.
Oh,
because that was kind of my touchstone at the time.
Yeah.
And so I just the reason of those 109 hours, I would say probably about 50 of them are just me summoning the GFs every single battle. An incredibly ineffective way of playing that game. But it was my own way, and I'd not experienced like RPG systems up to that point, really. I'd known to like point a gun or like hit a ball or drive a car. That's really all I'd known. So the idea that I was having a tactile relationship with these people, I was building up these characters and they were becoming stronger through my own actions was again something so revolutionary to me.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Everything about it was new, and that's the power of games and what they can do. And we live in this advanced society now where we're beyond that, but the power of an 11-year-old playing that for the first time, it's just had a huge impact on my life.
Yeah.
And then getting I go on for ages about this game, but like the moment where you would get the Ragnarok and you could fly around, and that sense of freedom, this world that had seemed so limited at that point, at times impenetrable because you were at the limits of where you could go. The Ragnarok was freedom, and I remember going to the underwater research facility and thinking, wow, this is like a secret area that I found. It was my secret, that I'd found. Everything about that game was so wonderful, and its impact on my life mimicked my own. So like 11-year-old, I really fancied this girl at school, so I named Renoa after her.
Oh.
And I named my friends, like all my friends were in it. It was like I was playing as my friends. We were all students at this school, and it was just a really amazing experience. And I adore it. I could just list so many moments in that game that just mean so much to me. Like the moment where you see Starr for the first time.
Oh my gosh, that cutscene is just so amazing.
And then, the attack on Balam Garden, where you have, I don't know how they did it on the PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
Where you have that mix of CG and your
when
character.
he's running across. Yeah, with Renoa.
It's so amazing.
Yeah.
And I think as a technical achievement alone, it's incredible. I appreciate that the battle system now, when you look back, I'm sure, it doesn't really matter if you level up. You can just, get, exchange 100 tents or whatever, and you're fine and you can win the game.
Yeah.
But I love it. And as a game, it has stayed with me my entire life. Like I would almost exclusively watch YouTube videos of Final Fantasy VIII. There were like series of. I remember there was a YouTuber at the time who did this like blasting critique of Final Fantasy VIII, just like saying how what a terrible, stupid game it is and how it doesn't work. And I loved watching it because I loved it, and his opinions weren't going to change mine.
Yeah.
But I got to revisit the game.
Yeah.
Because he was like playing through it and saying, "God, this bit and this person's rubbish at it. It's just awful game." And I'm going, "Yeah, I love it."
Yeah.
And
It's
it
like,
was
thank you.
It was, yeah, thank you. No, it's my favorite game. So it was a delight to kind of even watch people critique it. And I've known people critique it my entire life, and it still just never diminishes my relationship with that game and what it did for me, and the scope of what video games could be. I think the art style is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous. I think Adia is one of the most incredible antagonists technically. You know, that
So iconic.
so iconic. And I think I remember the end of disc 1, the mission, the assassination mission, everything you've been leading up to at that point. And I get it's so strange that it was so long ago, but I still have these vivid memories of when I played it, and my parents were having a barbecue, and it was the end of disc 1, and then I went down and had, I don't know, some chicken legs or something.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is such a thrill to experience this game.
Yeah.
Emotionally, it's, you know, it just means a lot.
Oh, and I mean, you know, figuring out that you actually landed the lead role in a Final Fantasy game in Final Fantasy 16. I mean, you didn't know that it was Final Fantasy 16 when you auditioned, did you?
No. When you audition for games, they are so heavily NDA'd and they change all the names. I actually auditioned for a character, a much smaller character in the game, and they then kind of stopped and said, "Ben, is it all right if you read for this character instead?" And I went, "Yep, sure." So I sight read the whole lines, and then I got the part based on this sight read of the lines. And the character I was sight reading for was a character called Clint Richmond. Clint Richmond. And I didn't know what it was at all. And then when I got the offer saying you're the lead in a video game, I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I can't, what an opportunity. And it wasn't until like a week later when they gave me the script for the game and the revised character description. And I saw the keywords. I saw the words like SIDS and, you know, like chocobos. And I remember it's just, I couldn't talk about it. And I was just me running around my apartment going, "Oh my God, oh my God, I got a minute." And it just, you know, it was just so secret. And it still really hasn't, it hasn't really sunk in yet. Because I know the power of what these games can be for people. And I am so unbelievably proud of what the team have made with Final Fantasy 16. I think that as a story, as a character study, it's really, really remarkable, actually. And I'm so proud to kind of be a part of it.
Yeah.
And hopefully there will be, you know, people out there who will have never played a Final Fantasy game, who will have that same experience of going, wow, this is what games can be. This is really, really cool. You know, Final Fantasy is an M-rated game, this one. So I wouldn't say 11-year-olds don't play it. But maybe be supervised by an adult, because there are some things in this game. But
yes.
Yeah.
It's some interesting happenings.
Yeah, there are some interesting happenings. Yeah.
But how did you go about like sort of preparing for doing a role like this? Because like, I mean, you know, what we were saying before, it's a hefty chunk of time, these Final Fantasy games.
They are a hefty chunk of time. And I didn't know how long I'd actually be recording for.
Yeah.
It ended up being 4 years
Jesus.
of work. And I didn't prepare. I didn't prepare for it, because you can't, because you are constantly dealing with unknowns. And it was just through the doing, and it was through the making of the mistakes. And I was fortunately given a huge amount of runway to shape this character, because we recorded it first in English. It wasn't, this isn't like a dub where I'm listening to someone else's performance and I have to move it to that. It's entirely what we came up with. So I was allowed to make some choices that wouldn't normally probably be made for this character. You know, you want to present this hero who has all the answers and, you know, is going to save the day, but that's really not what Clive is, and that's really what we wanted to explore with that character.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of improvise on the fly, and sometimes, I made a point of kind of not reading the scripts in advance. So like some scenes in the game, I am reading those blind, and some of them are like some of my favorite performances of myself in the game. I hate watching myself, but I was like, wow, Ben, you really went for it.
Good job, Ben.
Oh my God, am I really good? But there are also moments I would come back day after day thinking I'm absolutely terrible, because the weight of this game is so huge on my shoulders, because I understand how important it is to lots of people, and I didn't want to let them down.
Yeah.
So if I came out of work thinking I hadn't done a great job that day because of, circumstances, stuff that you bring from the outside world, I'd feel really, really guilty about it. So you just have to every morning steel yourself for it, be alive to all of the things that could go wrong.
Yeah.
And often it would be like the small lines that I wouldn't do very well. All the big stuff would just go off without a hitch, and like, well, that sounds really normal. But things like, there is a line in the game where I had to say, I'm back. And it's like, oh, I'm back. And
how do you say that?
How do you say that?
Like,
and it lost meaning. It lost complete meaning. And I
Yeah.
even at one point just said to the performance director, I'm so sorry, I can't give you what you want.
I know.
I mean,
Because it's true though. Like, it is those like little teeny tiny like inflections on the language that it can sound really wrong.
it can. And there were so many different ways in which we made this game. Really early on, we were doing it with, I was doing it in the studio with Susie and Ralph, which was amazing. And we really kind of formed these really great relationships together, and I absolutely loved it. But then COVID happened, and then we had to be a lot more separate. So that bond, which we forged, was still there, but we had to kind of maybe like artificially manufacture it a little bit more. But I think we found a brilliant medium for that. But when you are doing, we were still doing facial capture and stuff, and there was a lot of emoting with our face. There were lots of scenes where I'd come in and I wouldn't say anything at all. It would just be, Ben, we need you to react to this scene, which was a great thing to do, thinking, oh, wow, they're taking this seriously.
Yeah.
They're really kind of using our faces and using our emotions. But yeah, when you get a line like, I'm back, you're thinking, I want to make this the most meaningful line in the world. And you're like, well, actually, it's just a line, Ben.
Yeah.
There are thousands more lines, don't worry.
Doesn't all have to be fantastical.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to have if every line is the most meaningful line, then no lines have meaning.
My gosh.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, like I remember this is giving me like flashbacks to Shakespeare class, where like your monologue is just like outlined in like red pen.
Yeah.
And it's just like everything has to have a thing. And it's
Yeah.
just like, sometimes it just doesn't.
It really doesn't. And restraint is something that I am constantly learning. I don't think you ever get out of it. You want everything to be the best, most important thing ever.
Yeah.
But finding like interesting cadence and how you add importance to certain words, you can't be interesting and all the time. And in fact, sometimes being uninteresting is the most interesting thing you can be.
Yeah, definitely.
There's sometimes a scene, as much as I love Clive, sometimes a scene isn't about Clive, Clive doesn't have to be there all the time. There is a work.
Clive is front and center.
Yeah. But I think that like, yes, this is a character action game, but there are so many other characters in this game that you get to experience and learn their stories and go on this huge journey. I think, Yoshi P has said there's 11 and a half hours worth of CG cut sequences in this game. It's a lot of story.
Yeah, it is.
And, it's not just about Clive. It's about the people of Alastia. And it's really amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely incredible to like, not only are you voicing the character, but the fact that it's built around you.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Like no other Final Fantasy main character has had that before.
Yeah. It's crazy. And I haven't really factored this in until now that it's getting out there. But yeah, the weight's kind of scary, but fortunately the way but the way the story has been written, there are companions, and incredible companions, and it's not just like Clive being there the whole time. And don't worry, guys, don't worry. It's fine.
Clive is actually going to be Starry as well.
Yeah. I kept saying to Koji through the whole process, like, please, can we get like a Starry reference in here?
Just one little one.
Can we? Please, can we just call a side character Starry just for me, please?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then, another game that was really, really important for you when you were growing up was Gran Turismo 3.
Yes.
Which, like, I didn't get to play. I played the demo of it, of the original Gran Turismo. But you said that basically you actually played this a lot, like with your dad as well.
Yeah, and I think that my dad has a huge link with me playing video games. He was the one who kind of, when you're a kid, you want your parents to see your hobby as something that isn't a nuisance. And I was a very active kid. I played lots of sport. I did loads of activities outside of it. But my dad and my mum were really, really, really good at saying, yeah, you can play these video games, mainly because they knew that like Final Fantasy was a really cool thing to play. But the one game that my dad loved to play with me was Gran Turismo. And Gran Turismo 3, A-Spec, was just a game that he and I shared. And I think he played it more than I did.
Yeah.
I remember I was like, I think I went to the loo at like 2 a.m. once, and there's my dad doing a 24-hour race.
That's brilliant.
Thinking, Dad, you have a problem. But I loved that because not only did he support it, he shared my passion. And it was such an amazing thing because it was also the first time we had like a shared economy, because you earn credits in this game, which you then spend on cars. So it would be me and him discussing, are we going to tune this car up? What are we going to focus on? The details and the minutiae of that game allowed us to bond over things, and he gave me responsibility, kind of fiscal responsibility of like, you can buy this car, you can do this. Also, the music's amazing and the sound is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of got like Persona vibes. I went back recently. I was like, what's the music like? When I go, yeah, it's
kind of like jazzy.
It's kind of jazzy. It's just like, yeah, we're racing cars. It's cool. But yeah, the Gran Turismo mode, getting the licenses. It was also, at the time, the fidelity of that game was just incredible.
I was going to say, like the graphics, like the mountain stage. Like it was just like, you could see the light in the trees.
Yeah, and like there were one for one remakes of some of these like tracks that actually existed, like Laguna Seca. My dad and I, there was this like cutback thing, and I remember seeing it in real life, and my dad and I being like, "Oh, we know that, we've done that many times. God, we wouldn't have taken the corner like that." Just like, he's not a very good driver.
Such critics.
Yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant.
But like the one thing about that game, I talk about fidelity, is because I think for contractual reasons you couldn't crash any of the cars.
Yeah.
So there was just no damage to them. So
yeah.
You're not a good driver, but because like half the time I'm just like steering them into walls and just using the power of physics to just push myself around and be like, I'm so good. And we were talking earlier about the Suzuki Escudo.
Yeah. Which is just like the beast.
It's a beast of a car. Its horsepower is something, I don't know, like 1,000 horsepower or something. It has zero steering, but you would just go so fast and then crash, but you'd be so far ahead that you'd win the race. And you're thinking, oh my God, Formula One next.
I know, exactly. But you actually like lift off as well.
You do, yes.
Like you legitimately, the front of the car just goes up in the air. And it's just like,
Best car.
Yeah.
Real life.
So realistic.
So realistic.
Yeah.
The real driving simulation.
Yeah.
You could also have, I don't think they had all the licenses for F1. I think maybe there was like one Williams car they could have, but having, by that point, you're hundreds of hours in or whatever, and you've bought yourself a Formula One car that you're putting up against a Fiat. Thinking, I'm such a good driver. This idiot with a Fiat.
I know. Could you imagine those? Like the little family car going up against
this isn't fair.
That's incredible. Are you excited for the film that's coming out?
Do you know what? I am actually.
Yeah.
I am excited for the film. I love stuff like that, and I saw the trailer for it, and I went, "Yeah, I'm gonna watch that." A kid's gonna go, and it's based on a real story, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's all based on the like a competition that happened.
Nothing gets me like a sports drama.
Yeah,
I love. It needs to be cliche for me.
Yeah,
I have to know exactly what's going to happen, predict it. I have this thing. It's the perfect film for me to watch with a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Bottle of wine, entire film, fantastic. I want it to be as cliched as possible.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be revolutionary.
No.
But I'm excited for it. And David Harbour's an amazing actor, so yeah.
I know. Oh, I love that he's a gamer as well. You know, like
Perfect. We're everywhere now.
Yeah, we're taking over.
I know. Yeah.
You know, but yeah, no. I think it's really cool. But I also do love the fact that you shared this experience with your dad, as you said, because I think like it is something that that a lot of parents do take for granted, where you just sort of let your kid play whatever, and that's totally fine if you're not a gamer yourself, but there is a really special bond that you miss out on if you don't like take that little bit of time to do it. And
like being brutally honest, my father passed away a year and a half ago, so it's that thing where when you were talking about what the games that made me, I'm going, my relationship with my dad was just made all the more strong through that gaming experience, and that is one of the things I will remember about us. And I love it, and I feel so fortunate to have had those moments with him and those memories that we made together, that even though he's not with me now, I'll always have those memories of that game, of me waking up and him just, you know, in his dressing gown looking like Howard Hughes. You know, I finally cracked it, Ben. I'm like, you have a problem, Dad.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, I love it though. And you know, moving on from that, sort of more of the connection with your schoolmates.
Yes.
Like Grand Theft Auto 3 was one of those games that
had to be there.
Yeah.
Had to be there. It was, when you asked me how did I hear about Final Fantasy VIII, I heard about Grand Theft Auto 3 not through a magazine, through people at school.
Yeah.
And they were going, there's this game. There's this game. And I'm thinking, okay, what is this game? And the sell for me, for Grand Theft Auto 3, was not like all the cliche stuff that you hear, was actually the fact that there were taxi missions.
Yeah.
That it was all of these games in one.
Yeah.
Like, thinking about like way, way back in the early 2000s, the idea of an open world sandbox just wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
This was so revolutionary in 3D. And the fact that there were ambulance missions, there were taxi missions, those were the things that sold it. Because I really wanted a Dreamcast and wanted Crazy Taxi, but that didn't happen for me.
Yeah.
And so to get to play this, that was my in, which is so strange considering what the game is actually about. But I spent so much time just doing taxi missions for ages.
Oh my gosh, same.
Yeah.
Like it was, and it just felt so like, I don't know. As you said, it just felt so revolutionary to be able to accept somebody in for your fare and deliver them to their chosen location.
It's just Claude was not doing illegal things. He was an honest taxi man, just trying to make a living,
just trying to get by.
Just when he thought he was out, then he has to go and kill a mafia don. Those games, and 3 was the start, but it was then onto Vice City, onto San Andreas, and those were, you know, my relationship with my classmates was all about those games.
Yeah.
On Christmas Day, I remember getting Vice City, and I didn't see my family. I didn't see them. I just said, I'm sorry, you are no longer my family. My family is all of Vice City.
Yeah.
And they were amazing. And it wasn't the crime. It wasn't the driving and killing people. It wasn't the shooting, because the shooting was rubbish on those games.
Yeah.
It was just the fact that you, at the time, you felt like you could do anything. And also the radio. The fact that there was a radio in these cars and I could listen to whatever the talk radio was, Laszlo. The satire at the time was so incredible. I'd never heard anything like it.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm thinking this is the funniest thing that's ever happened.
Yeah.
You know, obviously not, but at the time we're going, and we would just quote the radio things to each other because that's what you do.
Oh my gosh, like the arguments that would happen on the radio station, like you were hooked into it.
I mean, the history of that character Laszlo from the who's a real person, I think, actually, but all the way through GTA 3, and then onto San Andreas, and then beyond into all the other games. Like it was amazing. There was this real character and these real stories that would happen, and it was just so. A lot of these on my list these are my first experiences into these things that have kind of expanded how I feel about video games and how I feel about the wide world. But yeah, those GTA games were water cooler moments.
Yeah.
Did you do this? Did you do this? How did you solve this mission?
Yeah.
You know, how did you stop this? Oh, I accidentally ran them off the road. I accidentally blew up a car it was a complete accident. Like for me, the thrill of getting like a Banshee car, which was like this really sexy, cool car that you could get, and just driving it around really, really fast, but also being respectful.
Oh yeah.
I made a point like I wasn't going to ever like kill bystanders. Unfortunately, bystanders, because of the AI, would just jump in front of your car.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm trying to drive here.
It's like, oh my God, you're speeding. Let me dive right into the car.
Yeah, really realistic.
Yeah.
Really realistic. But also in that game, this was before you could fly in GTA games, but there was a plane that you could, I heard about this from people in the class, and it was like, have you got this? And it was a plane that you could semi get off the ground. It had like half wings, so you couldn't actually fly it. But there was always the kid in school being like, yeah, flew it for an hour. And so you'd always try it, being like, no, you couldn't do it. You're a liar. You're a liar. You're a liar. John, you can't do it. But yeah, I remember just spending ages trying to make this thing fly that just wouldn't fly because the physics of the game wouldn't allow it. But in my mind, it was possible.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant though. Like that's such a, that is such a mythical thing that just wouldn't, it's like that thing of like, you know, you think about time before social media.
Yes.
And how those kind of rumors would just manifest.
It wouldn't happen today because it would be debunked immediately.
And that's so sad.
Yeah. I love the schoolyard, school ground rumors that would just start about all of this stuff, and it was just amazing. The mythical things that you can do in these games that just weren't possible, but it was all about the journey. It wasn't about the destination.
Yeah,
I loved it
completely. Oh, but yeah, no, I think like you hit the nail on the head though, and something that I didn't really fully realize about why I loved it so much as well is the fact that the world building.
Yeah.
Just as you said, like it was a living, breathing world inside that game.
You also had incredible voice actors.
Yeah.
Like the actors. You had Joe Pantoliano from like The Sopranos and Memento.
Yeah.
Like
how did they get these people?
And I think we were talking earlier about like Vice City. You've got Ray Liotta. Like it's insane the level of talent that they had. Samuel L. Jackson in San Andreas.
Yeah.
These were like Hollywood actors coming in and giving Hollywood performances in these games.
It's like the early validation of like gaming being mainstream, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Really set by Rockstar back in the day.
I don't know how they did it, but it was awesome. It was really, really, really awesome to play, and the stories were really compelling. And, you know, the overarching story probably wasn't that interesting, but the fact that they were these little kind of like vignettes, it would be, you know, you have this relationship with this particular person in the seedy underworld, and then you would move on. But it was nice. It felt light and nimble and fresh, and you could move on to the next person.
Yeah,
it was cool, and it was a power fantasy. You know,
oh
like
my gosh,
without it was a power fantasy, and you could, you know, go from nothing to something.
Yeah,
and then we just see how revolutionary that game was, in for better and for worse, of just how many, you know, the idea of the GTA clone, and, you know, oh my God, me talking about the history of GTA now, the biggest video game franchise of all time, as if people don't know about it.
Yeah.
But
no, but it's true though. But have you ever watched like the role playing or ever take part in the GTA 5? You've taken part of it.
I haven't, no, but I've watched people stream. Yeah, I really love it, especially when people are putting on. There was this I can't remember who I watched, but it was actually Gary Whitta. I was watching him do a role play, and it was absolutely crazy, some of the stuff that was happening, and people just running around and actually putting on crazy accents and thinking, I love this for you. I love that this is a thing that we can all do. I'm always a fan for people just doing strange things, and I just was like, this is compelling. Yeah. I will watch this till the ends of the earth. Right?
Like, I love the mundane ones, the role players who just do mundane things and everything's just happening around them.
Just live their life like normal people.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the genre of let's give NPCs their real due. You know, what was their everyday life as all this stuff's happening.
Yeah, exactly. What do they think? How do they react?
Because what was the film that happened recently that was about an NPC who kind of breaks out? Free Guy?
Free Guy, yeah. Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds.
Which was absolutely fun, but I would love to see like a full game version where you actually play as just an NPC.
Yeah.
You just live your normal life, Make it happen, indie devs. I imagine it's there.
Yeah.
You know, it's just called NPC, and you just play as the NPCs in a game where people are.
Yeah, I think that would be brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Maybe that is actually what Rockstar is working on now.
Yeah.
It's not GTA 6.
No.
It's NPC.
Yeah, this is the next billion-dollar franchise is NPC.
Yeah. Just created right here.
Yeah, we've really just flipped it up. This real money-making, this cash cow, we've decided to just go really artsy with it instead.
Yeah. And sort of getting back into like real epic fantasy.
Yes.
Mass Effect 2 is another game that was really monumental for you. So like what brought you into Mass Effect?
I never had an Xbox. And I was so jealous that people got to play this game.
And like Fable as well, wasn't it?
Just everyone had the cool games on Xbox, and I had the cell processor with the PS3. I was the loser who picked the wrong console, who didn't get all the cool games. And, you know, everyone was having an amazing time on Xbox, and there was just me like playing like the buggiest possible version of Fallout 3. I loved that, obviously, but then it came along, like they released Mass Effect 2, and I didn't play Mass Effect 1 because I didn't have an Xbox, and so I did the whole little comic beforehand, and I think I mentioned to you earlier, I killed Rex.
I know.
I did not know Rex. I knew only Grunt.
It breaks my heart.
I know, I'm so
Every
sorry.
time you say
Best
that.
Boy Rex is canon dead in my head.
It's
but
okay.
It's again, with the theme of everything that we're talking about today, the scope, scale, and decision making was something I hadn't experienced in a game, and the fact that those decisions weren't just kind of like arbitrary; they had consequences, and they had roll-on consequences.
Yeah.
I think I was at that point playing with my housemate, and we would play it together, and we would make decisions. So
that's interesting.
In the Garrus side quests, you make the decision. I mean, I was playing as a Paragon anyway because I'm just goody two shoes. I love people that just kind of like shamelessly play as a renegade. You know, and their entire. They say, you know, people have said, oh, you know, it doesn't actually matter which side you play. I think BioWare did not want you to play as a renegade because he looks like a half-eaten human being.
Yeah. I did harsh but fair, so I had like a little bit of spice.
I love that.
A little bit of spice there.
I was just like good at all points.
Yeah.
And I felt really bad whenever I made a renegade choice.
Oh.
But
she's like, oh no.
Oh
but
no, I'm awful.
I feel that. Yeah, that empathy is there.
But the idea of the genophage was so incredible to me that was in a video game, that we were exploring that idea of like an artificially created sterilization of an entire race.
Yeah.
And we're telling like not human but individual human-like stories about that. And you know, you go to Tachanka and you hang out with the Krogan and you just think, man, it's amazing that this amazing space opera was created, and you get to play a part in that, and you feel at least that you get to have an active decision in that, and you get to forge your own relationships. We talk about this game. Who did you romance? I romanced this person, you know, and you felt like you were having some say on that world, and that world was responding to you. And I think at the time that I was playing it, that really resonated with me.
Yeah.
The fact that video games could do that. And I would use Mass Effect 2 as a great example for people when they were talking about how video games are art. I would always talk about Mass Effect 2.
Yeah.
About the scope of these stories can be so immense. And, you know, forget Star Wars. Mass Effect.
Yeah.
This world is beautiful. The sound design. Yeah, you're going to spend an unnecessary amount of time clicking on planets for minerals. Yes.
Yeah.
But I forgive it for all of its faults because of my relationship with that game, which was it felt at the time entirely mine.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And also it had some of the best DLC ever created. I think I'm right in saying Lair of the Shadow Broker was Mass Effect 2. Arrival was Mass Effect 2. Like we were building up to this finale with Mass Effect 3, the anticipation, the hype. That was a hype game.
Yeah.
The Reapers are coming.
Yeah.
And I've never been more excited for a video game than Mass Effect 3 coming out because of the quality of Mass Effect 2. And it was my story, and my Shepard was going to do it. You know? My Shepard was going to save the galaxy.
Yeah. Like, what other game have we had that, really? Like, it's just, you know, that carrying on.
3 games.
it's just incredible.
3 games, and whatever you feel about the final ending of Mass Effect 3, the way they were able to, I think, very competently tell a story that had all of these, consequences and actions that you've shaped. The fact that my relationships that I carried over, and I'm thinking, God, Tali was my romance.
I mean, she is really cool.
Really cool, yeah.
Yeah.
However, when they revealed her, the whole secret was like, you reveal her face, and wasn't it like revealed that they used some old like Getty Images pictures? They still had like Getty Images on it when you saw her face, and you're going, guys.
Yeah.
Guys.
Yeah. No, I was Garrus. I was always my boy Garrus.
What a voice.
I know.
What a voice.
I know. Like honestly, I just think he was just such a cool kid. Like I guess it was Tali and who else was your party members? Was it Grunt, you said?
So honestly, my party members would change all the time. I actually
Gotcha.
think that so Tali was my romance choice, and I'd have Tali every now and again. I think I ended up having Thane.
Oh, Thane was cool.
Thane was really cool.
Yeah.
And maybe I had Garrus in my party as well, because I was basically like using all my biotic powers. Is it slam? I think I was just throwing enemies around. That's all I was doing. Yeah.
Just fly by.
You got weapons? Like, no, I've just got these blue powers that I just fling around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would change them up a lot, actually.
But talk about like characters as well, like character arcs.
Yeah.
I mean, sort of getting back to Final Fantasy in that way. I think it's like the only one that really kind of captures that connection that you can have with a character, because like Thane particularly had a really intense sort of choice or sort of emotional bond that you had with him.
I feel that with all the characters in these games, because of the way that it was designed, there wasn't really, it was like, collect these people, right? And if you get them to like you enough, then they won't die.
Yeah.
Which is a strange way of doing it. But because essentially the game was get to know these characters, you got to have amazing relationships with them, and they used to matter. And my favorite character was entirely dependent on like whose loyalty mission I'd just done at that point.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know Liara because I hadn't played the first game. Then when Lair of the Shadow Broker happened and you're like, it's Liara.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yes, great. But going into the third game, my relationship with Liara was different because I'd played the second game.
Yeah.
But I just think all the characters are amazing. The Asari, Samara. Is it Samara?
Yeah. Yeah. And Jack.
Jack. Were you Jack or Miranda?
Oh, I think I was Jack. Yeah.
Jack was so cool.
Yeah, Jack was sick with like the tattoos and stuff.
Yeah.
Such a cool character.
But again, the roster of talent, like it had Martin Sheen.
Yeah.
Is it Martin Sheen? Yeah, Martin Sheen. As the big evil guy, the elusive man. Just absolutely.
Yeah. It was monumental at the time when they even like announced that he was going to be playing a villain in this game.
Yeah.
And I mean, like for me, I heard Jennifer Hale. That was my shepherd. Well, we're gonna have to replay it. Ben.
I know.
It's gonna have to happen.
I'd love to. I think Jennifer Hale is Jennifer Hale is the voice of my video game life.
Yeah.
Just thinking about like all of the stuff, all of the voices she's done. She's so versatile, and the fact that she was Rivet in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, I'm just like, you are so. This is the same person.
I know.
This is Naomi from Metal Gear Solid. That's mad.
Yeah.
She's so good. I was male chef, so I had Mark Meir, and I remember Mark Meir is a fantastic improviser, and at my drama school, he was invited in to teach us improvisation, and my jaw was on the floor that I was being taught improvisation by Commander Shepard.
Oh, I love
at
it.
the time, yeah.
Were there many other fans?
No one else cared. So me going, this is Commander Shepard.
Oh my God.
Going, Ben, stop being such a nerd.
Oh, but it's just, to be honest, I had that experience with my theater teacher as well. He got to fence with Patrick Stewart on Star Trek, The Next Generation.
And those are the things that matter to you when you're a kid.
Yeah.
You'll hold on to that.
Yeah. And yeah, like for you to have like Commander Shepard teaching you, I wouldn't be able to focus on anything else.
Yeah, I wasn't. And it was surprising to me that no one else in my year was actually caring
Yeah.
So you are not taking this seriously enough, everyone. This is such a huge deal.
We are in the presence of greatness.
Greatness.
Yeah.
This is Shepard himself, or you know. But so now I need to replay it. I've got the remaster collection to play.
Yeah.
So me and Jan will go. Or maybe I get to play Mass Effect with Jan as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
First one.
Need to. And then our last game that we're covering is Journey.
Yes.
And it feels like a journey.
It does feel like a journey.
What a like interesting, different type of game to sort of end on, considering the fact that there's no voice acting whatsoever in this game.
Yeah, because I played it on PlayStation 3, I think. Yeah, the PlayStation 3 version. And it was my first, I think it might have been one of the first games I ever bought on the PlayStation Store. So the fact that I was able to download games, I'm still am very much like a physical games player. I like to have the game. I like to have the case. Even when sometimes the game disc actually isn't in it and it's just download code. At least I've got the case. This game I downloaded because I think I'd just seen some great reviews of it. And just the score, the atmosphere, everything about it. It's I hadn't again played a game like it at that point. Austin Wintory's score I just still think is stunning. There's a sequence where you are essentially surfing, you know, through these dunes and then into some old caves, and the camera pans and his score kind of like surges, and the fact that you can only communicate with through beeps and boops, but you can communicate with beeps and boops through to other people who are playing that game.
Yeah.
And they come in and out of your life like a journey, and sometimes at the end they will tell you all the people that you played with.
Yeah. It's so incredible. And you said actually that you kind of played this co-op as well, didn't you?
So I played it, my housemate, Oscar, and he watched me do my playthrough, and then he wanted to have his own playthrough. Bearing in mind this is a 2.5 hour game, it's very much you just climb to the top of a mountain.
Yeah.
And he had a completely different experience. And it was, for me, one of the most kind of profound video gaming experiences I'd ever had, because he met this person, whoever they may be, and this person showed Oscar loads of things that he hadn't seen before in the game. He'd seen me play it, but this person helped him do all this stuff and kept pulling him up when he was struggling. And then we lost each other, and they lost each other. And there's a whole bit towards the end where you finally ascend the mountain and you land, and it's just stunning, and you see the sky, and then you land, and there's this blissful quiet and then he saw the same person just there waiting for him. Yeah. And then they walked arm in arm through the door. And it was just silence of just, I'm even getting goosebumps now thinking about it, because there was no verbal communication. It was entirely digital. It was so meaningful. Yeah. Maybe to that other person it wasn't. It was like, I'm just going to let this loser go through, do this game. But there was this connection that happened.
It's incredible.
Yeah, in the simplest way. And I tell people, if you've never played a video game before, just play Journey, because it's easy, the inputs are really simple, and it's really, really moving. And I think it's video gaming at its simplest, and if it resonates with you, it's most powerful. Yeah. And then Journey, as a result, meant that I was able to discover other indie games. So The Unfinished Swan, I ended up playing Edith Finch. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. I loved a walking sim at that point. Gone Home. Like, I was basically playing everything, because these shorter experiences are as impactful as the big AAA games, the big fantasy epics that I'd been playing. And it was the beginning of my indie journey. And I wouldn't have played Inside had it not been for Journey. There is no Edith Finch without Journey for me. Yeah. It just ignited my love for indie games.
Yeah, no, I just, it's just incredible.
Did you ever play, what would be like your first indie game that you kind of remember playing?
Oh my gosh. I mean, to be fair, my indie journey is quite recent, maybe in the last couple of years or so. And it was mainly because of the She Plays Games podcast, because I was talking to a lot of indie dev, and they would just be like, I was inspired by this game, this game, this game. And I'm just like, okay. I never, these games didn't even come on my radar. But the one that really, really hit me was Gris. degree was.
Oh my God, I love that game.
Oh, it's just as you said, it's that artistic expression in a video game that, you know, AAA sort of scratches the surface of it, but they never go as deep as a well done indie game.
Because they're kind of meditative examinations of other emotions.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily have to have the same mechanics, and the mechanics can then combine to create something so much more powerful. I love that game and what it represents. It's so the art style is stunning.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Again, the music is stunning, and it's, you know, it's so simple.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel clever.
Yeah.
You know, you go,
Yeah.
I'm good at games, and I think that's really important. I think that games don't have to be hard to be good. I think making things simple and allowing the player to feel clever is great, because then it means that also they can play the story and experience it. And yeah, I love that game.
Yeah.
I think it's so amazing and so beautiful.
Oh, it's really, really lovely. And, you know, considering all the games that you've had on the show today, what do you sort of feel your game choices say about you?
Excellent question. I think they say that I love to be kind of emotionally swept up in something. I think things that I don't get me wrong, I love myself a Crash Team Racing.
Yeah.
I love to have fun. But ultimately I want to have an emotional connection to something. And when I think about the games that I've chosen on this, it's all about my emotional connection to it. And they're representative of the time that I played them. When I talk to friends about video games and they say, what's the best game ever made? And I'm like, I can't tell you what the best game ever made is. And I can't really tell you what my favorite games are. But what I can tell you is the games that have resonated with me at a time where I needed that game to resonate with me.
Yeah.
And that's what all these games say about me, is like, that's what I look for above all. And so when I'm looking for a game, I'm not looking for a game, I'm looking for the next connection that I'm going to have. You know, sometimes I want to play something distracting and I want something, you know, lizard brain, let me go and collect all of the leaves for something.
Yeah.
But no, when something hits me, it's the most wonderful thing, and it's something that only video games can do. For me, anyway. I'm not going to say everyone.
Everyone feels the same.
Yeah, here is the empirical truth that I'm laying down for you. No, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I feel so lucky to have discovered video games at the time that I discovered them. I'm so lucky to have been able to maintain my relationship with them, and the fact that now I'm at this point in my career where my job has kind of folded into it is the most amazing feeling in the world. It doesn't. I'm so lucky that I get to meet people like you who share that. Like right now we're having a connection because of our love of these games.
Yeah.
And that is so powerful. And the fact that I get to talk to people who maybe haven't had the same relationship with the game that I have, but you have your own relationship with with different games. That's so amazing. And I love hearing games that people love.
Yeah.
And even if it didn't resonate with me, I love that it resonated with you. And I could listen to, I mean, that's all I do, is I just listen to all of these people, whether they're on podcasts or on YouTube, just talking about games that I've never played. Like there's a YouTuber who I will just watch who does deep dives into games that I'm just not going to play, but I want to hear them talk passionately about their experiences because I find that so inspiring.
Yeah. I like do the same with like horror YouTubers specifically, because I'm too chicken to play them myself. Like I know like games like Silent Hill have like the best lore. Yeah. But I cannot pick up the controller for that game.
I love that we are in an age where we can do that. Yeah. Where we're at a point where video games kind of are transcending the medium of playing them themselves, like they exist outside of it. Yeah. And, you know, there are so many brilliant creators and people out there who are doing incredible work that means that they are more accessible than ever before. and they're kind of keeping video games alive and those experiences alive. And the fact that before I prepped today, I was like, oh, I need to kind of like brush up on some of the knowledge. Do I actually remember these games? And I'm thinking, no, I really do remember these games. It's good. But the fact is there are just so many people out there who are doing the work on these games and know them so intimately and are keeping that alive through their own passion.
Yeah, it's really great. And, you know, being a voice actor as well and an actor in general, is there a particular game, franchise, past, present, that like you're just like, I would have given my left arm to work on?
Metal Gear Solid.
Oh, yes.
Hands down. Hands down. I would never, that.
Yeah.
I think I didn't do Metal Gear Solid for this list or any of them because I couldn't have picked any of them. But like that, it's the perfect blend of camp, of action.
Otacon.
Yeah. Metal Gear. Otacon. Like David Hayter is so amazing. And all of the cast, that I just think that it's so cheesy but so amazing, and the voice acting in that for a PlayStation 1 game was absolutely crazy. I would have loved to be a part of that franchise. But you know, it's there are so many other opportunities out there to do it. But fingers crossed.
Yes, no, definitely. And you know what? Aside from obviously Final Fantasy 16, is there anything that you can say that you're working on now and where to find you?
No, I can't say anything I'm working on now because I'm NDA'd up to my eyeballs. That's the nature of this job. But yeah, if you want to find me, I'm pretty much on all social media platforms. _Ben_Starr. I apologize for that, but there was someone else who took the more important Ben Starr names. There are apparently a lot of people out there called Ben Starr.
Oh.
So, but yeah, I'm.
But you're the Ben
I'm
Starr.
the _Ben_Starr. But you will find me on all the social media platforms, probably talking about how much I love video games and Final Fantasy.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been really amazing.
Thank you for having
me.
Thank you. And it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.